Now you and I can get together. Let it start a revolution. Change the world to what it should be.
Hey guys, so I thought I'd have a little conversation about the very important topic and the whole reason this channel even exists, and that is the future of ShareTanzania and every project it cares for. So Angels Gate, Featherstail, Children's Village, Angels Gate Home for Street Involved Children, Kilimanjaro Animal Rescue, and Uchira Children's Fund, which is the education fund for children outside of our care. The charity obviously has a necessity to find sustainability, and longevity comes from sustainability. It is not the best model for a charity to be reliant on myself, especially whilst I'm sick, as I have been. That becomes very apparent to everybody, that my interactions with YouTube are basically our charitable advertising budget, and as such, if anything happens to me, we have a problem there. And I've mentioned this in other videos that we are setting up a new YouTube channel. I had hoped it would be done now, but our videographer who came to help us was not able to stay as long as we had hoped, and thus we are looking for another one. Any experienced videographers out there, keep an eye out for the advert coming soon. So I want to talk about the year ahead and what we're going to do, and how I want to try and involve you guys to make this a reality. In fact, I must involve everybody in the world to make this a reality. Now, ultimately, our goal is to provide a sustainable long-term solution for initially special needs children living in and around Kilimanjaro in Tanzania. And up to now, we are doing that for over 60 children, but we are still reliant heavily on donations for what we are doing. To tackle that, we have a partnership with another charity trust, as you know. Last night, the DJ Saved My Life Foundation, and they have been working closely with us. And earlier this year, they brought lots of street artists, and they are having an art auction later this year. We don't know how much the auction will raise, but the plan is that we will be targeting to purchase approximately 20 acres of land, which will be converted into a food forest, a centre for volunteerism, so people can come out, work in the foothills of Kili, helping us to produce food for the community, helping us to do forestry projects for the community, helping us to produce cash crops such as berries and such to sell in country, and basically developing this land to be a very beautiful space that will continue to expand as best we can, that will help us to tackle food sustainability for ourselves and the families we help outside of our care. The food sustainability is massive. Our second biggest outgoing is food. We serve 330 meals a day, and that comes at a colossal cost every week, I'm sure you can imagine. With the security of food from growing it ourselves and having that amount of land we can do so, then we will be able to eradicate that cost, and of course that is another step towards sustainability, and also that additional money can then go to expansion or betterment, improvement of the children's lives. We are still missing certain things like pediatricians, etc., from staff that we would like to have on staff rather than bringing them from the hospital, so we could make use of it that way, or we can just be as we are and secure and safe. The plan for that to happen is with last night the DJ Saved My Life Foundation and their auction, and we hope that that goes as planned. It's all being worked on now, and there is a impact report being created. We've had permaculture specialists out to the land to review and survey the land that we are looking at, and we know that that will bring a great deal of security for everything going on, and sustainability, of course. In the eventuality anything happens, economically, politically, Mother Nature will always be a substantial force of industry to support Featherstail. As long as we own that land, no matter what happens to economy, the community will be predominantly off the grid. And that means that there's a lot of security for the children going forward, because a lot of topics that are never spoke of is what happens in financial crashes in countries like this, etc., or wars to the disabled. And believe me, the examples I have, which I shall not share, are horrendous. It's terrible what can happen. So going forth, that is not enough to create full sustainability. And to do that, we want to do social enterprise. Now, with our placement on the algorithm and our potential to hit higher on the Google searches, and the fact that we have this exposure to Europe and America, we feel it's wise that we start our own safari tour company. And to do that, we need to acquire 2 to 3 safari jeeps, and with the pop-up roofs, etc. And those will be used throughout the seasons that we have tourists here, for purely taking people out on tourist runs, for safari trips out in the national parks. Due to my connections, there will be packages put together for tribal days, so you can come and spend time with the last of the 300 Hadzabe hunter-gatherers, and you can go out with them. You can live with them for a little while. You can be with the Maasai, of course, stay with my tribe and other tribes out at Wanyama, which is got a lot more wildlife than this area. So there'll be a lot of fun stuff to do there, including sandy beaches, bush to beach, as we say over here. And all of that will be based around acquiring some safari vehicles and getting going on the ground here and having a website, etc. in Europe. And of course having some promotion as well in what was the word I'm looking for, where they have these events for tour companies to get together, exhibitions, etc. for tour companies. We'll have to visit those as well. But given the nature of what we do, I think people would choose our company first because the profits go towards helping the children and nothing else. Likewise, I hope we can place high on the algorithm. I also think we can undercut the competitors here, which we don't want to hurt anyone's business. Of course, we have friends in safari, etc. But we think we can undercut the prices as well to be so competitive, because the lodges here want to give back to the community. So I can approach the lodges and say, can we get discounts on food and accommodation, because the profits go towards helping these children, and you can then advertise that you are assisting us as well. So I think the whole model that we have designed around it is very, very good and will work, and can bring a great deal of income and sustainability. Safari income, if you own the jeeps in itself in this country, a safari jeep for one day, depending on how many seats, is $200 to $250 a day to rent. Now, if we own outright the vehicles, that's immediate profit aside from maintenance, etc., which is phenomenal in high season, but obviously there's a low season in rain where you can't go. But still, it's income from in-country. It's employment for some of the boys from Lango Lamalaika, or Angels Gate as you know it. And it's basically a huge step towards full sustainability for us. And I think tourism is such a massive part of the Tanzanian industry and market and economy that we'd be foolish not to try and be part of that. So to do that, we'd have to buy 2 vehicles and set up an office space in our workspace is not a problem, and a website. So not a huge amount of cost except for the vehicles. And this is where this idea I've thrown around for a while, 1,000-strong army, comes in. I'm about to try and do a survey or a poll to find out how many people actually would do that. And that would basically entail 1,000 people to make us sustainable to the degree of 70 to 80%, which means that it's not relying on me, which means we are that fraction closer, and we will be at the point where we're at a fraction away from having a blueprint for a self-supporting charitable community. And thus we can go out into the world and say to people, hey, if you've got an issue with special needs children in a certain area, we know from this model and this blueprint that if you fundraise X amount, then you can create a community, you can create this, this and this, and it will be self-running, self-supporting, and as long as you get good self-management within there, some persons to manage it on the ground in Tanzania. That way you create a sustainable permanent solution for children like this. And in areas like East Africa, that can be copycatted in every country, Malawi, Uganda, ShareTanzania, and that's my vision, because as I see our children suffering in the ways I've seen, and I've seen so many things that I don't want to have seen, but I know when I go to bed at night, I wonder, and I know how many hundreds of thousands of other children are like that, all across East Africa, who are suffering and have no option but to suffer. Thus, if we can create this blueprint for a self-replicating, self-supporting, charitable community like this, it changes charity, and it's how charity should be. I can then say, we need to fundraise this much, and it's a permanent solution for many generations to come. This is massive, and this is how charity should be. It should not be advertising budget of 90% of your income goes on advertising, so you get that extra 10% so as you can keep giving stuff to people. You need to create sustainable solutions. Teach a man to fish is the age-old thing instead of giving him a fish. Give people a community with farmland to provide for their disabled in the area, in undeveloped areas like this, so as they have a permanent solution and the base whereby children like ours can go off to school and get education, they can learn how to grow their own food, they can be independent in an area with wheelchair access which is non-existent here, etc. So it just makes life livable. So to do that, we need 1,000 people to agree, volunteer to fundraise $33 a month basically for 3 months, and that would give us $100,000. That would give us the opportunity to buy the safari vehicles. It would give us a good buffer with regards to the initial staffing costs, getting new staff in to run that, etc. It'll also give us the money for school fees for boys to go and train to be drivers. There's a lot of our boys already trying to become tour guides, etc., and some struggle with academics, etc. So it will be good for them to have employment with us as well. And it's just a win-win-win and countless win situation for us that we do this. So that's the future of ShareTanzania. Today I employed a new assistant director, an extremely talented and educated guy, and you will meet him after he's finished orientation and learning what he's doing, etc., but he has a lot of experience. This frees up so much space for everybody from Europe, because it's then handing over the Tanzanian charity to Tanzanians, which is how it should be, and then we can focus on expansion, growth and fundraising, which again is where my skills are and where I should be. So this is the future of what we are doing, and it's an exciting future, and I'm enthused and motivated by it. And we've been looking at land, etc., and I can see we're at that cusp that within 12 months there's no reason all of those things can't exist and we can't be generating our own income, and our children who even some of the special needs children can have employment as a safari guide sitting in the front seat of the car with the driver, because they can learn about animals. Many of them can talk, they just can't walk, etc. So there's nothing spoiling having a very equal opportunity employment space within inside that tour company. And then on top of that we have the farmland providing our food, and also the opportunity for people to come and do volunteerism, to stay out in the beautiful nature, helping us plant trees, restoring the reforestry projects, because as you know we're not keen on short-term volunteers with children, because it's just not healthy for the child to keep meeting people and then them going away. So our volunteer opportunities are few and far between until we get that base for people to come and do that. So that was all. That's the future of ShareTanzania that I wanted to share with you all, and I hope you join us for the journey. And I hope above all, because we need your help to do it, that 1,000 of you at least, or I don't know how it'll work out, can, or maybe it's more, God willing, can get behind us and make this happen and change the face of charity forever, is how I perceive it. God bless, guys. Bye. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, as it really helps us to grow the channel and with it help more children here in Tanzania. Also, don't forget you can support our work by sharing with children in crisis here, be it sharing for a particular need or even sharing one-on-one support for education, housing, food and medical care. It can be done for as little as the cost of a cup of coffee a week back in the West after all. Just visit www.sharetanzania.co.uk to find out more. Lastly, remember you can also support us via Patreon, www.patreon.com/featherstail, and help keep us here in Tanzania to continue our work. The links for the website and for the Patreon are in the description box of this video. Love and light, guys. See you soon.